Good morning, colleagues. Deb, how are you? Should we check? Oh, you look gorgeous, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm back in the hood.
You're down. Bit of gangster work. That's fantastic. Great to see you. And look, our Susan's in. Susan, long time no see. You look more magnificent than when I saw you last.
Thank you, Tara. You too. I'm glad that you have a new book out.
You're amazing, and of course, all my hopes and thoughts go to you. A very tough time for you in your particular geopolitical location. And you have all our love and support and everything good that we can send to you. You know, in some ways, what today's about is this is an international academic community, and you are loved and cared for and respected. And I am so sorry for what you're going through.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I support that
Yeah.
as well.
Well, Deb, you're
Absolutely.
gonna you're going to meet Susan. She is absolutely amazing. We may talk about things too, but can I notice, Susan? You might see Dr. Leanne McRae. It looks like Archie Cunningham from Happy Days has arrived. I'm loving that. Is it a jacket? How you going, Leanne?
Can you hear me now?
I certainly
Oh,
can.
right,
I s now,
excellent.
now is that a jacket? Is that like a Cunningham jacket?
No, it's a shirt.
So that's the full Barry White experience, is it, Leanne?
It is totally. They
Yeah.
shimmer.
It's a bit of shimmer. I'm loving that. It's a red launch, as you know, Susan. You don't have to have colour because you are just magnificent as you are. You are fantastic. Now we've got two other colleagues that are joining us. We can't see them yet. So Hadil, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, and the legendary Tom. How are you, Tom? Oh, Tom, you're on mute. Say hello to us.
Hello. I didn't think I'd be speaking to my idol this morning, but here we are.
Well, Leanne has this effect on men, can I say,
Not
Tom?
quite. Quite.
Um, so, so Tom, tell us about you. I'm nobody's idol. I'm just a bloody random. But
No.
Tom, tell us about you, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm coming to you from a very hot Tokyo, Japan, where I'm. Oh, can you hear me? Is that
I
okay?
certainly can. No, I'm just
Oh,
I'm
oh,
responding to
oh,
you
you're
with
being okay. I see.
yes, with menopausal energy, feeling
Yes.
sadness for you. Yes.
I'm receiving it, thank you. But yes, very hot Tokyo, Japan. But I'm finishing my Masters of Musicology here at the moment, and hopefully moving on to PhD next year.
Oh,
Focusing.
Tom, what a topic! And you're thinking musicology for the doctorate as well?
Yes, yes. So yeah, particularly music in the like classical music in the Allied occupation era is kind of where I want to move on to next. So
Right. So I'm so glad
yeah.
we've met. You're stuck with me for the rest of your entire life.
Oh, and that is a privilege.
Nah, nah, mate, I'm a random and I'm so happy for you sparing your time. And look who's next to you, the wonderful Dr. Jane. How are you, Dr. Jane? You've been doctored since we last met. How are you, Dr. Jane?
Hello, Tara. Hello, everyone. I'm not a doctor yet. It's only 64 day after my thesis submission, so I'm still waiting for the results. But
You're waiting for
hopefully,
the exam. See, you submitted, and I counted 2 months and went, it must be through, Jane.
so I'm counting every day. So it's 64 days today. So
Oh,
yeah, but
well,
hopefully
let's
by the
let's
end of the
let's hope
year.
this wonderful glamorous group of people can summon fantastic energy and get that thesis through for you on day 65, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you,
You are
Tara.
amazing. So, of course, we've got Susan from New York City. Liam has joined us. Now, are we still in Greater Manchester, Liam?
Hello everybody. Hi Tara. Yeah, we are. So I'm just about to move job and move house. So there's
And
all
can
that
we all
moving.
just go, congratulations, Associate Professor Liam?
Yeah, thank you.
No, you
Oh,
absolutely deserve it. So we're thrilled to see you all. Fantastic shays in. Oh, look at that for like an aggressive purple. That's a great colour, Shay. Oh, that's all I get. Whatever. Are you well, Shay? I don't get sound. I don't get. You're on.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm very well and I'm very happy to be here. Congratulations, Tara.
Oh, look, no, I couldn't have done it without you. You have been a constant for years, Shay. For years, basically every day we've talked about this stuff. So I'm so grateful to see you. We've got wonderful Mary in. Love to see you, Mary. Congratulations. I'm assuming the Masters is all through and everything tremendous. Oh, so you're profoundly successful. So this is the antithetical book to your current status, but we're thrilled to have you with us. You're the legend. And we may talk about, I don't know where we'll go in terms of Indigenous methodologies and Indigenous storying in today, but let's use Mary's expertise. Cecily's in. That's fantastic. You are legendary. How are you going, Cecily?
Oh, great. Thank you, Tara. Absolutely wonderful, and so pleased to be able to celebrate this day with you.
Oh, look, I thought we just, as I said to Leanne and Debbie, was it late yesterday, in the middle of last night, I went, there's going to be you and I and a tab of yogurt and a bag of crisps, but we're going to have a great time. So that's fantastic. That's great to see. And Sophia's in. Sophia, I'm sending all my love and energy to you, you fantastically successful human.
I'm a definite academic failure, but I've gone fully red for today.
Oh, not just a bit red, bloody fully red. Okay, that's my new thing. I'm putting that tattooed out on my bloody forehead. But Sophia, you are not a failure, and we are talking about this. So I've been watching you, and look, the Dougster's in. How are you, Doug?
Good. I was in the hospital till 3 o'clock this morning, but I'm up and I'm ready and I'm going.
Who did you beat up in the car park, Doug?
No, it's the old heart. It's just play up. That's all.
Oh, mate.
So I spent
But
nearly 8 hours there.
darling, are you okay? Are you all
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, fine. 8 hours in emergency, but I'm
I've
upright.
had a
I'm
few
wearing
hours
some very
sleep.
attractive
I'm up.
burgundy.
I'm good. I'm good.
No, you're amazing. It's just
Yeah.
lovely to see you. And look, well, of course, Ian's in, Hadel's in, SY's in, so I'm terribly excited about SY. And of course, Renat, is it Renat's back. How are you, my love?
Hi, Tara. Yes, and thank you. You're a complete inspiration. So thanks for bringing us all together to celebrate with you. And your book just sounds fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, my love. And and of course, Dr. Professor Jackie Hewitt's in. I'm sure she saw the logo as soon as I did. Central Queensland University, big chunk of our heart lives there. I met Jackie in Viva Rock Vegas.
And we rocked it out, Tara.
And we rocked, yeah, that's a verb. That's a verb to use. So we're thrilled to have you here. So look, colleagues, I just want to put my comments up. If everyone puts the chat up so we can see it, and it's just lovely to see you all. So please feel free to use the chat. And the three of us, Leanne, Debbie, and I will be monitoring the chat. So this is open, this is accessible, this is relaxed. So colleagues, if you're comfortable, at 12:01, we will make a start. So colleagues, can I thank you? And I don't know what fluid you've got. Liam, hopefully you've got some fluid with you, hot or cold, but cheers to you all and welcome to the red launch of how to embrace academic failure. I'm so thrilled to see you. And the subtitle is important to this. It's about building a career with meaning, integrity, and honesty, and it is in that order. And it matters a lot, I think. And that's what we're here to talk about today and make all of us as humans feel better, feel centered, and use failure as a diagnostic rather than where fear started us, which is like, oh, failure. At the end of this, in 1 hour, Sophia, mate, we're going to return to you in your full redness. And we're going to find a way so that failure is a diagnostic. It's not an identity. It is a way of thinking. So let's see if we can do this together as a family. So I will commence with an acknowledgement of country, acknowledging the traditional owners of all the lands on which we meet today, elders past, present and emerging, and any Indigenous colleagues with us today, and any Indigenous colleagues who see us later on the recording. We love you. We thank you for your expertise. You are amazing. So this is fully digital, colleagues, and yes, the comments are open and they have started. This is terribly exciting. So 2 people have joined us today and they will sort of run us today, and I use any excuse I can to spend time with them both, and they are both incredible. And let me start with Dr. Debbie Hindley. I'm so happy to see Debbie. And would you like to put your hoodie up just to, yeah.
Back in the
Edgy
hood.
has, Edgy as, mate, edgy as. Now, Dr. Deborah Hindley, incredible teacher, incredible researcher, but also, I need to say, incredible citizen. She completed her PhD on women in the AFL and produced a great book from it, In the Outer, Not on the Outer. I love it. It only brought 5 books with me in this weird random liminal location that I'm in, and one of them is Debbie's book. That's how important it is to me. She has worked as an academic, but also as a professional staff member, and that could be quite important to us today, Deb, I think, and also worked at 3 universities in the People's Republic of Western Australia, at Curtin University, at Murdoch University, and at the University of Western Australia. Now, why Debbie matters so much to this conversation, there's so many justifications for Debbie being here, but her entire life she's fought against silos, against this bit of knowledge over here, this group of people over here, power hierarchies. She's fought that her entire life, and she's built relationships between art and sport in particular, with really powerful arguments in place for the role of GLAMs, galleries, libraries, archives and museums in transforming citizenship. So Debbie, we are thrilled to have you with us today. You are the best in the universe. And of course, we've got with the fantastic red shirt. I mean, I described it as a bit of a Barry White intervention. It's really, it's the Love Unlimited Orchestra kind of shirt, really. That's great, Leanne. Now, Dr. Leanne McRae is the ethics officer at Edith Cowan University. She is an outstanding educator. These two are the best teachers I've ever taught with, and I've taught with some amazing scholars. But she's also a rigorous and powerful researcher. Leanne is just shy of 50 publications and 2 stunning books, which I certainly recommend to you, Terror, Leisure and Consumption and Crowdsourced Syllabus. Both are amazing. But can I say, Leanne, when I was rereading your entire career prepping for this again, I found an article. I'm so old, I forget stuff now. I found your article on the Adjunct Academy.
Ah, yes.
Which is an amazing article. So if you go to Leanne's Google Scholar profile and you see this fantastic piece on the Adjunct Academy, I really recommend that to you. So an enormous welcome to the Debster and to Leanne, and they're going to guide us through. So obviously, oh, and I've seen Damien. Love you, Damien. Love you, Damien. You're the rock star. Well, gee, you're famous, Damien. You're legendary. So I'm now going to hand over to Leanne and Deb, and please questions and comments. And this is fully digital, so this is all about you. Let's have a laugh and a great time. Which of you fabulous red women, not fully red, but which of you red women would like to start us off?
Well, I'm happy to start off, Tara. Leanne's happy for me to go first. And let me say thank you for inviting me to this launch. I think you have surpassed yourself. You've lifted the bar on yourself with this very, very courageous book. You've really opened up about yourself and been honest about life in universities. If this book is not seen, becomes a canon, I will be very surprised, because it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. For up-and-coming academics, you're forewarned, and therefore you are forearmed with this book. You have now the knowledge to go ahead. You have the knowledge of the background. You have strategies to go ahead. So one of the things, there are many things that I love about your book, Tara, many things, because partly I've lived it. I can put names and faces to people there. Now, one of the things I really love is your use of the Stoics, because similarly, I've been a bit interested in the Stoics lately. And as I said, this is a very courageous book. Courage is one of the Stoics' 4 pillars of virtue. So how do you summon the wisdom, the courage, and the temperance to get justice for yourself in the university environment? When something goes wrong, how do you summon the wisdom, courage, and temperance to get justice for yourself?
Wow, that's a powerful question. And the first thing is I don't think justice is going to be possible. In late capitalism, in the neoliberal university, Debster, I think if we think that the people who have hurt us so badly, the people who have sexually abused us, who have bullied us, who have ripped us off, who, looking straight at Jackie, who have frightened us, demeaned us, made us feel small. If we live our life going, karma's going to get them, they're going to get their comeuppance, we're going to get revenge, right? Now, that is not going to happen. Firstly, that's not good for you. That's not good as a human because that will churn you up. And you're focusing on, again, Sophia's wonderful line about, oh, I'm feeling a failure. That's focusing on rage and fear. And what I think is important is we let that go. There's never going to be justice. And I think the point of this book is that it is the people who are exploitative who get on. So the people who are successful are the ones who have demeaned others, taken authorship off others, who have, basically ground their way up. They've crawled up over broken bodies to be successful. So all we can do, I think, is find peace in it. And that's why failure literacy in this book actually appeared, because we can want justice, we can want fairness and equity and good ethical people treated well and kindly and promoted. I think we all know on this call that is never going to happen, right? So the question then is, what do you do next? And, you can spend your life sort of wandering around car parks going, gonna get you, gonna get you, see, gonna get you. But actually that's not helpful. Failure literacy is what is helpful. And what failure literacy is at a point of failure, of bullying, of demeaning, of fear, you are able to gather new information, because failure gives you information. It's not the information probably the empowered think you're getting, but it's real information. And failure literacy allows you to take that information and understand what I describe as power asymmetries. So the information you gain from failure allows you to see with great clarity truth and what is going on in the world. And so for me, as we all move through life, truth matters. I know in Susan's part of the world, it's a bit optional at the moment, but truth matters. Ethics matters. Honesty matters. We are researchers. Ethics matters. And so what failure literacy allows us to do, Deb, is sit up or stand up straight, see the world as it is rather than as we would want it to be, and understand the power inequalities and asymmetries and move forward in a way that is authentic and is real. And that, I think, is what this book is about. And it does provide strategies. The Edward Elgar came to me with the project of a how-to guide. Now, I've never written a how book before. This is book 21. I write why books. But this was a how book. And I wanted people, I suppose, like Sophia, who have been knocked about by the system, and most of us on this call have been knocked about by the system. And what are we going to do next? We felt the fear. We've been bullied. We've seen the people that have done damage to ourselves, to our friends, to our colleagues get on. That's true. What do we do next? And that's what this book does.
Great answer. In fact, that answers my next question, which was going to be, well, particularly in Australian society, if, once upon a time you were to talk all about your successes and none of your failures, you were blowing your bags, and we had a good way of pulling people back down to earth. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. The failure literacy that we may have had previously has disappeared.
Yeah, it has. And I'm not the person, as someone who was a former professor of media, I'm not the person to go, the media is to blame. But I think in so many ways, social media is to blame, but because of the disintermediation, because we've got no gap now between someone authoring a comment and someone reading a comment. So you can just like have a thought bubble and put that on LinkedIn, and then people read it, because that is now the culture, fully disintermediated. I mean, while I was writing this book, the craziness of LinkedIn and the changes to LinkedIn happened, Deb. And I'm looking at Liam, and you know, in the last 2 years, madness has occurred on LinkedIn. And Jackie and we spent about half an hour laughing about my silly joke about, you know, basically if someone opens an envelope, they overshare that on LinkedIn. I've just opened it. I'm so excited to share that I've just opened an envelope. Right. And so what happens is we're all just, oh, this is just, you know, oh, I went to the toilet unaided. Yeah, come on. Right. And so let's overshare that on LinkedIn. And so we've now got this really, really low bar for what success is. And it's small and it's singular and it's selfish and it's self-absorbed and it's atomized and it's neoliberal. And so the project of this book was to disconnect success and failure. You know, success is now good luck. Just you go open your envelope, I wish you well. If we disconnect the binary opposition, then we render failure resonant. It's not about an identity. It's about a series of actions that give us information that when we are literate and understand that information can change our lives.
Great. I'll hand over to my colleague and friend, Leanne. I'm sure she's got some wonderful things to say.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yes. So, wow, you really just did it this time, didn't you?
You didn't tell me before we came in what, by the way, just so you know, Leanne hasn't told me what she thought of the book. She's been very, very paint dry. So I never know. So this one's different, Leanne. So, and beyond, again, this isn't about selling books. This is about an honest conversation about failure. The audiobook's available for $4. So no one's going to, you know, spend a lot of money here. Don't worry about it. But Leanne, tell me what you're thinking about this.
So I have been thinking about it for a little while now. And this morning when I woke up, kind of a thought came to me, and I thought it's like a well-written pop song that, you know, has multiple layers and reveals itself slowly. And that's kind of what's different about this book, I think, from the other books you've written. The other books you've written, no disrespect, Tara, like to punch you in the face.
Yeah, they punch you in the face. Yeah.
Which is awesome. We need that. Sometimes you need a punch in the face, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
This book, I can feel and see the careful layering that has gone into it, and the way that it is designed to bring people to a particular place. And in that way, it's transformative in what it's doing. And we've talked about this a little bit before, where I kind of asked you questions before around how this in the pods and the VODs, you do this kind of like, oh, let's do high theory. Now let's talk about you. This lovely contrast that exists of, yes, high theory. Yes, let's critically think about concepts and themes and ideas, but let's also think about how we emotionally navigate those ideas.
Yeah.
And because we are not separate, and you always talked about this as teachers, but we never leave the outside world when we enter a teaching space. Right. You know, that was one thing you drilled into us very early on. It's not a separate kind of cocoon. We bring the external world in to us when we teach in that space. And I think this is also the model that you're bringing here, is that we don't leave ourselves aside from the theory. Yeah. We don't leave ourselves aside from the experience of learning. We bring our insecurities, our fears, our anxieties, our joys. All of these things are kind of the bubbling soup within which we emerge out of to engage and grab with these ideas. And because of that fragility of it takes the courage to reach for a big idea, right? It takes courage to shift your consciousness, and we are in a place of vulnerability when we do that. And now we're existing in a university context which does not value or support that vulnerability.
That's right.
And, you know, it's all about, you know, when you think about the shift towards kind of like, you know, deliverables and getting funding, you've got to have an absolute hubris and confidence. You know, I completely have so much respect for people who sit in that space of failure, because most people getting grants don't get them.
That's right. That's right.
And it's also the reason why I'm an academic failure, because I don't get funding. I'm never going to get funding, right? I'm never going to sit in that space, right? Okay. No, it's true. I sit any job application, I already sit outside of the selection criteria because I don't bring in funding. And so that courage, that vulnerability needs a space to grow and for us to think about it. And what you've done in this book is you've allowed and provided that space. And what I kind of want to start with you is kind of towards the end a little bit, where because there's a lot of decoupling. You're decoupling ideas in this book, which is really evocative and really potent and really powerful. And I wanted to maybe ask you about the decoupling of ideas. I see that as a movement from storytelling to storying.
Yeah.
So I kind of understood like storytelling as a past, like you're understanding a past thing and moving it into the present, whereas storying, from my perspective, is something that you are doing now. You are understanding the situation now. So I guess my question to you is like the decoupling of this, is this because developing the consciousness is so imperative in this book, because we don't have emotional literacy, emotional repertoires, as you know, we don't have them. So for me, the real guts of your book is, how do we develop the consciousness to sit in our emotional state and not be annoyed or angry or disappointed in ourselves, create another emotional layer, and in order to use that emotional situation productively?
Yeah, such a powerful question. And this book is about decoupling. It's about the things that we take for granted are ridiculous. And the first thing it does is look at that word success, and the singularity, particularly in research success, is bonkers, is nonsense. And so part of what this book does is defamiliarize that. Let me just give you one example of that, and we'll move to more provocative ones. How many conversations have I had, and I've shared it with a lot of you in this room, in the last 25 years, when I've been talking with someone who's got this career of, 100 refereed articles that have been co-written with 15, 20 people, and they've lived their whole bloody academic life as author 9 of 15. And they're talking to us about research integrity and about research metrics. And I have been in more meetings than I can count where some random has said that a co-authored refereed article is equivalent to a singly authored scholarly monograph. Now, I love Jack's face. Now, the point, now we can all go, actually, what I do and what the point of failure literacy is to call that out as irrational. So what I do is look at the actual research metrics. I go through and look at the research metrics, drill down qual and quant, and show what is wrong with them. So great example, Web of Science, that's used by many universities around the world for these metrics to promote or demote people. 58% of social science and humanities journals are not in Web of Science. The journals are not in Web of Science. So however could humanities and social science people ever compete with a system where the majority of our journals are excluded? So this is irrational. So the first thing to do, Leanne, is actually say, you want metrics? Let's do metrics. Let's do real quant data sets and have a conversation. So that's how we add information literacy to failure literacy. But your point about storytelling has been co-opted, with the greatest respect, I love storytelling, but storytelling has been co-opted by neoliberalism. And it's being used in, grants when you tell the story of your career. It's being used in interviews. Whenever we're asked in interviews, tell us about when something went wrong, but how you fixed it. They never say, tell us when you absolutely failed and it changed your life and you couldn't really get out of it. That's never the question. It's always about, tell us when something went wrong and how you fixed it, right? So that's storytelling. So that's now neoliberal. We all want to feel good about injustice and inequality and other people being treated dreadfully. Okay, yes, there was slavery. But how are we going now? Look, it's good now, isn't it? Yeah, great. So storytelling can be really deployed in that way. Story, as you've said, it's past to present to future, and the present and the future is massaged so that the past improves. So it's the progressivist ideology. Now, storying is interesting because it stops. It stops in the present. It doesn't really have a beginning or an ending. It just stops in the present and sits in the emotion and the vulnerability and is a lens to understand injustice and difficulty without it having to go anywhere. So as you've said, Leanne, storying is a strategy for consciousness. You are able to understand what is going on, not by nostalgia to the past or the great future that's never going to happen. It forces you to know it, be real in the present, diagnose what's going on, and then with that honesty, gain integrity and move forward from truth, not a neoliberal progressivist chronology. Does that sort of help a bit? That's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, no, this is I think the real crunchy complexity of your argument here. On one level, it's like we have an emotional response rather than sitting in the emotional response. How do you move beyond it? How do you develop consciousness? And that is life. It's very easy to not easy. It's very, it's common to we sit in emotional states that we are encouraged to not feel.
Yeah.
And particularly as women, sorry guys, women aren't allowed to get very emotional about things either. And we also the workspace as it is framed, that those emotions have to be swallowed down very often.
Yeah.
And that space for sitting within that experience and firstly developing the consciousness and then having the consciousness to not deflect the experience, I think.
Yes.
Also important because it's very easy. We go, I'm angry, you've upset me.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
the end of our conversation at that point.
Yeah.
And actually, there's another question you need to be asking, which is, why do I feel upset by what you've done?
That's right. And it's getting beyond the shame too. So the argument is often that shame is felt by the disempowered when the empowered stuff them about, and guilt is felt by the empowered when they go a little bit too far. So the challenge with sitting in shame in particular is that one never gets out of it unless one has a strategy and an interventionist strategy. And what this book does do, and it is mine, is I've developed a 6-stage strategy, one diagram that came to me in the middle of the night, a diagram to actually move Sophia from the shame, the fear, the guilt, the worry about how she should be behaving from these randoms, darling one, who have this notion of success. It's not real, Sophia. It's not that success is not real. There's no pyramidal career anymore, my love. We've done the hard yakka work, qual and quant, on people in positions of power, right? We've done the actual research on them. And there are vice chancellors in Australia, 3 of them, that do not have a PhD. Now, just about everybody on this call has a PhD. How have we reached the point where a vice chancellor who's running multi-million-dollar contracts have got the lives of colleagues in their hands have never even spent 3 years focusing on a research project. So, Leanne, you're the expert in ethics. How, for example, is that Vice Chancellor going to be the responsible officer for a research integrity, which, the Vice Chancellor has to be, the responsible officer reporting to TEXA, and often the DVCR has to be the designated officer and there's assessment officer. We require our hierarchy to be excellent, to be outstanding. And yet the qual and quant is showing that's not the case. And so what that means, Sophia, is that you've got this notion of success that doesn't exist. It's not real, my love. The pyramidal career is over. The tenured career is over. It's gone, my love. It's gone. And in some ways, it never really existed for most of us. Right? And so it's about moving you from I have failed in a system that is a failure. You can't be a failure in a system that's already failed. I think I said at some point that, for one of these damn videos, the catastrophe's already happened. We have to stop worrying about the catastrophe coming. It's already happened. So yes. Our question is not, I'm a failure. The question is, what do we do next to make a living, be authentic, be real, help other people on the journey, and call out the injustices and inequalities and the lies of our system.
So, Tara,
I just,
sorry.
I was just going to say, we can call it out, even though I'm not within a university environment now. When one of those vice chancellors was appointed last year and was a parliamentarian, I was in a group of people who I've never seen before and I'll never see again. And I said, how has this person got this job? How can they get the job when they haven't got a PhD? They haven't been through all the whole research thing. These people, most of them, I don't think were academics. But that set off a chain of discussion, and they're like, yeah, right. Now, okay, it was just a small group of people, but that would have set off that chain of thought there. And I think that's how, we can talk about it in our small little environments, and it can maybe have a little bit of permeation out there.
That's right. And I call that research literacy or research education. Our responsibilities, the organic intellectual, if you will, must go out into the world and talk about what a PhD is, what a PhD does, beyond employability, beyond graduate attributes, and explain why it's crucial that, how would our crew feel who are A-level academics who are on not much money and working every hour God sends? They've got a PhD and their vice chancellor doesn't have a PhD. Where do you put that incongruity? And that's it's how we manage the irrationality, I think, that's created this book.
So
Leanne, we'll go back to you.
I wanted to ask you about, because you situate the front stage and backstage argument really well here, and it's always struck me as quite perplexing in a university at a bunch of people whose whole lives are supposed to be dedicated to getting to the backstage, right? Unpicking the backstage to understand how meaning is framed and formed and deployed in the front stage. That's what a researcher does, right? Unless, I don't have a research job, so maybe I've dramatically misunderstood what researchers do. But I guess I wanted to ask you, how do you think we've gotten to a place where so many of people within a university sector are actually quite happy to just sit with in the front stage presentation that's given to them?
Yeah. And the easy answer is, and we might go to Jackie on this, is they gained from it. A bunch of people have a very, very tight and shiny, almost as shiny as your shirt, Leanne, front stage. And they've invested in that front stage. And that's not a porous front stage. There is no backstage, because what's behind it, and there are certain people, and I am studying them at the moment, there are certain people that are in a very high position in universities around the world, and they are clearly absolute failures. They've produced very few articles in their career. They won a teaching award in 1996 when Take That was still in the charts, and that's still on their profile. So if you actually, what I do, and most of you know I did a study of this, I read the front stage, I read the profiles of vice chancellors around the world, and I assessed them by 36 different characteristics, and the overlap was 95%. Right, so they all know exactly what look at Jack. They all know exactly what's required for this completely, front stage. There's no way to get through it. So the great thing about a backstage, and this is Goffman 101, as colleagues know, the great thing about the backstage that I really did focus on in this book is in the backstage we rehearse stuff to see what actually will work on the front stage. So why that's good is that's an andragogy, that's a pedagogy, that's a learning, that's testing stuff out so that we don't look like a moron, like, is this going to work? But of course, once you disconnect or decouple the front stage from the backstage, then you've got no place to test yourself and fail. And so you end up with this incredibly brittle facade, which is what we're seeing with particular leaders at the moment, where there's no truth there, there's no honesty there, there's no integrity there. I mean, we have a vice chancellor in the Antipodes that has 14 refereed articles in their entire career, last publishing in 2001. And yes, on their profile, they do talk about a teaching award they won in 1996. I was several marriages ago, Jack, can I say? It was that long ago, unbelievable. But so, Leanne, the point is, this front stage, they gain from it. Remember, we're dealing with asymmetrical power relations. And when you invest heavily in this shiny front stage, you don't want anybody to come behind and show the wizard behind the curtain. I'll give you one example and we'll move on from there. But there is a vice chancellor who contacted me with great disgust when they'd recognised a friend of theirs in an article that I'd written. And they said, how very dare you, how very dare you, and of course, I just simply replied, this is non-reactive data sets. This is all public information. What are you worried about that I've used publicly available information to talk about this particular leader? Why does that offend you? Never heard a reply back. They don't want the questions, Leanne, because it allows their power to be perpetuated.
Yep. So one final thing before I hand back to the fabulous Deb. So I had to go there, the double refusal.
Yeah, mate.
So the double refusal, and I'm just going to throw this at you and see if it sticks and what you do with it.
Yeah.
So apologies for doing this to you.
Yeah, no worries.
The double refusal and the refusal to fail.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So for colleagues on the call, the double refusal comes from Baudrillard, and it's about leaders who refuse to lead and followers who refuse to follow them. So you've got such an incompetent leader that they sort of can't be bothered. They're what my late husband Steve Redhead used to describe as the quote lazy frat boy. So they're sort of in positions of leaders. They go, wow, I'm a leader. Woo, yeah, come on, can't do anything at all, but they really love the title and the office, right? So they're in that role, and of course they can't really lead because they don't know what they're doing, and then people don't follow them because they go, you're a moron, right? So that's the Australian version, the classy version of Baudrillard's double refusal. Now, the refusal to fail is absolutely in that, because the incompetent leadership is created through the complete inability to admit weakness, fear, challenge, problems. And a particular DVC who I know very well, when I said, oh, wow, because he didn't have much of a career at all, I went, oh, right, okay, you don't have a public Google Scholar. Is there a reason for that? Oh, it's all about optics. It's all about optics, and you've got to have a healthy ego to be in this job. Now, that's great. Now, of course, what that meant was we will withhold information so that I am not vulnerable. So the refusal to fail is part of the first stage of the double refusal, and the inability to acknowledge that, you know what, perhaps I'm not as good as I think I am, but I'll continue to gain power while wonderful, brilliant humans like Sophia go, I'm not doing very well. They feed off that, Sophia. They feed off your fear. They feed off your worry, because that lets them maintain optics.
Awesome. Deb.
Brilliant.
I learned a couple of new words in this book. Agnotology, beautiful. The study of ignorance, and I think that could have more attention too in these days.
Certainly can.
And I saw neutrinos. I saw a certain influence there. Thank you very much.
Yes, look, I know. I learn a lot. No, it is an interesting way of thinking about power and the fragmentation of power. There are some, I mean, I've tried to, in this book, Debster, use all disciplines. So this is not a book of the humanities. I hope it's,
yes.
I'm respecting more people, but
yes.
I want it, you know, there's tons of references to experimental physics and to Nobel Prizes and all sorts of methodology. So I've tried to be as open as possible, because in so many disciplines, I mean, the experimental science, I would argue, are great on failure. They're just great on failure, because that's the nature of the scientific method. It has to be, that's how they generate hypotheses. Can I say medical science, and particularly clinical trials, Leanne McRae, the failures of clinical trials, which are running at 80 to 90%, are never spoken of, and neither are the billions of dollars that have gone into those clinical trials that fail.
Yes, I love the way that it's applicable to all disciplines and all academics. So, you know, I think that emerging academics will benefit. But, you know, I think the critique of universities, particularly of leadership and the importance of followership, really offers a lot to the hierarchy in universities.
Yeah, and this book is about, it's got some material on leadership, but actually it's about followership, how we all as humans follow great human beings with integrity. And it's a great phrase in this book that followership is about response abilities. So how we gather the abilities so we can respond with ethics and care and kindness and compassion. So that's part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, sorry, Deb, did you have more?
No, go ahead.
So the final, I guess we're getting close to maybe opening up for other people, maybe. But I also wanted to, of course, you hit the nail on the head right towards the end as an ethics officer, particularly talking about that idea of failure and the lack of publication around research failure, which two thoughts are that very evocative sentence you wrote about how can people actually give consent. As an ethics officer at that moment, my brain just kind of imploded on itself. If we don't have full knowledge about what is failing, how can people then be properly informed about the research that they're participating in? I think that is really potent, really powerful. Also, in animal ethics, it's an absolute requirement to publish the failures, because that's about your 3 R's. That's about your reduction, your refinement, and your replacement. If you are not publishing the failure of your experiment, you are creating a situation where more animals are going to be used, and that is absolutely no go in that space. So I don't necessarily have really a question out of this, but that if I think, because the reason I work in ethics is I think that it's one of the remaining spaces to keep academics accountable.
Look, I agree. And look, your influence, Leanne, again, most of the people on this call had an influence on this book. You will see pages where you will see yourself there. And Leanne, the focus on ethics, I've done a lot of work, and I've had to write a policy suite on research integrity, policy procedure, the workflow when things go wrong. And Jackie, we may talk about this. You and I have been living on retraction watch for much of the last 3 months. But Leanne, your influence on this, but I wanted to make sure that ethics was there, and the inelegance of not discussing failure, certainly in clinical trials, but more widely, because the waste of it is stunning. And also in those clinical trials, and we may talk about this, obviously you've got fantastic expertise in disability studies as well, the consequences on humans with disabilities and impairments when they've actually had implants that improve their lives. So they've had an implant in their brain, in their feet, in their heart that have improved their lives. And then magically the clinical trial and the corporation decides to stop the clinical trial, or indeed just stop the product that helped these human beings. And it stopped because they may not make as much money as they would like about it. And what's the ethics of giving a human with Parkinson's disease something that enhances their life, and then deciding, you know what, we won't progress with this. I know it was helpful for you, but we're not going to make enough money out of this. So we're just going to leave you with the implant in your brain.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening.
And I also think there's no space for PhD students anymore. Like as soon as there is a conflict, a failure in a project, it's like there's no ability to pivot to do what we used to do in your office, which was put the problem into the prose.
Yep.
You encounter a difficulty in your experiment, in your theory, in your reading. That was the gold. That was the nugget that we were looking for. But now, and maybe I'm a little bit divorced from this because I don't supervise students, but from what we see in the ethics office very often is this crisis because, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yes, and of course, those of you that know the wonderful Sue Charlton, the wonderful, extraordinary Sue Charlton, that's exactly what happened to her. So she was looking at baby's hip dysplasia, and she had a control group and 2 different regional locations, all going well. And of course, no one turned up. No one turned up. And then 3 supervisors went, yeah, bye, I'm out, girlfriend, bye, Felicia. And they're out. And so the project was gone. And so I had the great privilege of meeting Sue at that point, and we created an amazing thesis from the failure about the role and place of developing health literacy in regional locations. And that became the thesis. Magnificent, published, phenomenal. So the failure is the research.
Yes. And I think that's what your book is centering and providing space for us to enter into. And I think that's a really amazing, fantastic piece of work that you've done there, Tara. So thank you for doing it. And thank you
very kind
for having the courage to do it as well.
I'm old and close to death. But can I say also what I hope is there too is compassion. So it is taking fellow humans by the hand and walking with them and using that infrastructure of care. So you are frightened, I am frightened, you have been abused, I have been abused, and let us create a storying moment to create consciousness to help others learn from it so it doesn't happen again. And we create good policy and procedure and governance to enable change.
Yes, and can I just say here that if you have had the discussion and the argument, which was extremely well made, well written, I mean, it's textbook writing, really great writing, and the research, all your current references, and like Nature 2023, I mean, that's current, really current in Nature. But also using Goffman, Gramsci, Baudrillard, Redhead, Virilio. What I was trying to get back to is the fact your doula studies. If you'd had the argument and all of that without the strategies, without the experience, without the way forward, there would be a piece missing. But you have given that compassion, and I see that coming from your doula studies, that you've actually had the compassion. So Well done you again. Well done you.
Oh, thanks, Deb. And look, we do finish with, the book finishes with holding the space for failure, and that's the death doula trope. And it is, most people on the call have had appalling tragedies in their life, and we all know we have to sit in that moment. Grief doesn't have a clock, and you sit with other humans with compassion. You don't ask, what can I do? You just sit with them and you be. You exist in that space and time. And so the book does it. The point is, it is how to embrace academic failure. I could write millions of words on what's going wrong, but this book must move forward and provide ways through this so that with integrity, we can create a career. You can create a salary, you can create a living. It may not be the hierarchical career that you're dreaming of, but I tell you what, you've got authenticity, you know who you are, and you're not looking over your shoulder waiting for somebody to find you out.
Yeah, and that also really connects so evocatively to your idea of servant leadership as well, which is, again, these tools to move us out of these spaces of crises that we find ourselves in.
Yeah. And look, that COVID-19 showed, and there's been great research on this, that the charismatic leaders are the ones that failed. So the ones that, look at me, look at my suit, oh no, beautiful. They're the people that failed catastrophically in leadership in universities. And the servant leaders, the people who actually went, this is about the followers. This is not about me. I am nothing. I do not matter at all. What do you need? How do we scaffold change to make that happen?
Righto. Now, Liam's got his hand up. Should we acknowledge the hand up? I reckon we should.
We're ready to rumble. I'm so excited. So Liam, and of course, is it midnight, mate? Is it midnight?
No, it's 10 minutes to 2 a.m. So it's 1:50. I show up, I'm consistent, I pester, I show up for my antipodal colleagues. Um Doug's smiling, yeah. 4 a.m. for one of Doug's confirmation of candidatures.
We love you for that, brother. We love you for that.
I was going to ask, and I've put this question in the comments, and I think that our colleagues have kind of answered this anyway. I see the book as an anthology of all the lessons from the previous outputs that you've produced.
Yeah.
Also following some of, when you need to hear the Tara's kind of wisdom, I've looked at older videos of all of us, from like 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And that kind of like greatest hits collection, as I'll inelegantly call it, I really see that in this book, in terms of the title and in terms of turning failure on its head. Another question that I wanted to ask was just following your career, Tara, and the positions that you've held, Dean of Graduate Research, Dean of Graduate Studies, Head of Department. Whenever you've been replaced in those posts, it's always there's been like 5 people who have done that job of replacing that one person. And we're always told in the academy, and this is something that I was told recently from the job that I've just resigned from, there is no room for deputies, there's no room for support with this. And then when you leave, you're replaced with about 5 different people. Isn't that a failure of the institution and them not holding a mirror up to themselves?
Oh, look, you're a sweetheart saying that, Liam. And look, it is noted. And, much to if I put on my scary feminist hat, very often I've been replaced, my dean role has been replaced by a PVC with a deputy. I mean, it's happened over and over again. So this is quite common. And look, I don't want any human to work like I work. So that's not right, and that's not what I want for all of you, right? But yeah, I'm old, I'm wise, I've worked around the world. I know how my bread is buttered, right? But what I'd say is treat your career, Liam, like it's a long career. So we're all going to have shockingly bad days, and the system is hurting at the moment, and it's hurting human beings. But what I would say to you is just keep walking. You've done a fantastic job at this, Liam. You've moved. Now, what I'm hoping for you is this next job is a decade for you. that this next job is a 10-year that will move you from your associate professorship, which is a great achievement, very hard to get, through to a professorial, to a British chair. That's what I want for you. But what we need for that to happen is you must be in a stable environment. So you can't have a head of department, a head of school, anybody in particular doing damage to you. And you know, the moment you're in a bullying situation, and bullying is so common, you know, it's, you know, what was the crazy figure in regional universities? Just under 50%, I think it was 47% of colleagues in regional universities have been bullied, so nearly 1 in 2, right? So you need a stable environment with good ethical humans. That's all you need, and you'll fly. Now, the trouble is, if you haven't got a good, stable environment working for good, decent, ethical, compassionate humans, you're in trouble. And so we gift our life, our time to an institution, and we learn about the institution, about how they handle that precious time. So that's what I want for you.
Thank you so much, Tara. And hopefully that's a prophecy that will carry with my career. I'm going to an institution that's very well equipped, and I feel so blessed to be able to transition into that space. That's what I like to leave with.
Yeah, and that's right. So let's now make this the project, Liam. In some ways, that's where Leanne has been leading us to, Liam, is that let's be proactive. Let's not, because reactivity creates fear. We start to feel shame, we move in on ourselves, and we can't get out of it. So what I want for you is proactivity, sitting up tall, feeling good about yourself, knowing who you are, knowing what your strengths, what your power is, and knowing the power asymmetries, but being conscious enough of them that you're not intimidated by them. You're the best, mate. Jackie, should you and I have a conversation?
I think it's
Let's
time.
go.
Well, can I say, Jackie Hewitt, a couple of weird things have happened to us in the last 3 or 4 days. And this has been on both Facebook and LinkedIn, where we've been involved in posts, mate, where people have gone, no one's doing any work on failure. Like, does anybody know anything about failure? I went on a seminar, and like, failure, it happens to all of us. And it's like, I'm thinking, this is a post discipline. I think, what did I have? About 25 pages of references on failure. So what is going on, Jackster?
Oh, laziness. I see a lot of laziness, people not even bothering to use that great database of Google Scholar. I mean, it's so freely and easily available. All they have to do is type in failure studies.
But no, they overshare in disintermediated social media, going, I can't be bothered doing a search. Have you got a mate? Have you got a mate?
I've got a few of them.
Yeah, but Jack, where are you on this? Because obviously we've been living in retraction watch because we've seen some bad stuff, mate.
Oh, just had this weird experience where I got asked to review a journal article. Clearly, it had been written by AI. There were fabricated, non-existent references. There was a reference to something I had allegedly written in 2017. 2017 was not a really good year, but it wasn't that bad that I forgot about writing an article, which, by the way, I didn't write. And the journal that it had allegedly appeared in did not exist. So, you know, lots of red flags, did the whole check every reference. More than 50% of them didn't exist. The other 50% journals didn't exist. Authors were left out. Page numbers were wrong. A weird sentence in the middle of this article about AI and robots that had nothing to do with the topic. So AI messed with the people, right? AI thought, you're using me to write a journal article. I'm going to mess with you and put something.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I can't do that, Dave.
I know, so it got shunted out of the first journal, which was a good journal. And then 6 months later, it appears in another journal, which I'd never heard of. And it was word for word because I did a text match, except for one word that had been changed in the title. So I flagged it with the editor and they said, we'll investigate. I said, perhaps you should take the article down while it's being investigated. You know,
err on the side of caution, but no, they left it up there. 6 weeks went by, me prodding them, going, "What's happening with the investigation?" No response. So I emailed the whole editorial board. It took a while to find all their emails, but I did. And I said, "Just wanting to let you know about this. Here's my report." Anyway, 2 days later, the article has been pulled down while an investigation occurs. Then I poked them again. "What's happening with this? This failure, this epic failure. How did this journal article get through refereeing in your journal? There's a failure. How come you are not doing the things that you should do as an editor when this kind of stuff is flagged with you?" This took a lot of time, but I'm like a dog with a massive marrow bone. Dragging it around, burying it, picking it back up, digging it up, having a chomp every now and then. So anyway, I got nothing back, and I went off to Retraction Watch, and they wrote a story. The response from the authors of something a 5-year-old would say: "I'm not responsible. I haven't failed. Not my fault. It's the dodgy databases we used. They're the ones that made the mistakes."
Yeah, and there is an important thing particularly in the research space, although it works in teaching as well, the trope of radical responsibility.
Yeah.
And that is not only claiming when you stuffed up, the first thing you do is go, "I stuffed up," right? So, yep, stuffed up, fail, because that then allows you to move from the failure. You can bracket the failure and learn from the failure once you've acknowledged the failure. If you displace it, we've lost our paradigm. But radical responsibility is actually claiming the failures of others and going, "This failure has occurred in this journal with these 2 peer reviewers. That's a systemic failure. I claim responsibility for that, Jackie, and please use my email." And as you know, in research integrity, you are informed through the process. And at the end of it, you are informed, this is what has occurred, and this is how this will not occur again. Radical responsibility is required in research integrity.
None of that happened. None of it.
I mean, are you optimistic or pessimistic about research integrity in the future? It's the research sphere that's worrying me the most, Jack.
I'm seeing some really dodgy stuff being published, and you just think, well, what we have to do as individuals is hold these people to account, call them out. Yes, it takes time, but this is something that we need to protect our field. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen, because in 20 years, people will be citing that dodgy article and thinking that the research was all good. And where does that leave us? Not in just in the hard sciences. It's a big problem there, but in the social sciences and humanities, we're creating knowledge, or there's a body of knowledge there that has been infected.
Yeah.
And we have to get rid of that infection.
And the infection keeps going. And just to give you one example of that. So, for example, retraction, that in the lovely square brackets, now follows articles. So when an article has been retracted, it exists in Google Scholar and so forth, bracket retracted. Those of you that want to look at the Wakefield autism study, you'll see the little brackets. Generative AI, by its coding, ignores the word retraction. So it means the retracted research is being used without an acknowledgement of the retraction. And so the failure is ignored and perpetuated.
Yeah, and I think for us as researchers, we should also be talking about these articles in our publications and research that have been retracted. Like, here's something that went wrong. Here is something that failed. Make sure you don't do this.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great, Leanne and Jack, if we actually used retractions as a way to teach research, not only integrity, but research literacy? Wouldn't that be an interesting research education? And again, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I think what I see a lot of is in certain processes, there is a reliance on the shame and the guilt to do the work of punishment, rather than actually the actual procedure and the outcome being, this is what's going to happen. It's naughty you should feel bad, don't do it, and there's not a proper accountability. It is just a process that's designed to make that person sit in the shame, like kind of being in the stocks in the public, sphere a little bit. And I find that really unproductive and really not helpful at all.
Yeah, I mean, atomized shame in neoliberalism is basically the same functionality as the medieval Roman Catholic Church, right? It serves no purpose, none at all, and we don't then learn from it. I mean, we have the cliche, and of course, this book critiques it, that you're learning through failure. That doesn't just bloody happen. If we're going to learn from failure, and all the research shows this from all the corporations that have had a catastrophe occur, whether it be NASA or whatever, and it showed how they haven't learnt from failure. You have to have a protocol, you have to have a process, and then you learn from failure. Remarkable. Can I just finish off with the beautiful Cecily, because I'm conscious of time, colleagues, and you've been so generous with your time, and I'm so grateful. Cecily, how are you travelling, my love? You're the scholar and the gentlewoman amongst us. What's your feeling about failure and how it operates in research?
Oh, wow. Thank you for the question, Tara. I work in a countercultural space, so that so I'm not as invested. I mean, as all of you are, because you're in an institutional space. So my work has trouble getting out there in the first place. So
interesting.
But I'm very passionate about the future, and the shape of the university has to change. It just has to change. We are transitioning, and I can see that AI is pushing us that way. It's pushing us to face these issues and to somehow get traction between us. I'm a great believer in people power. And I'm a great believer in these sort of gatherings so that we can actually start to find a way forward. And so I'm absolutely looking forward to your book, Tara, so I can sort of read it to see what I can transition, what I can springboard from it, to see if there's new ways of working with AI that's going to be contained, that's going to have integrity about it. How do we work with all that? Because that's part of our way to the future, not just staying in the present, but we are the ones that create the bridge to the future. So I'm not sure if that's
it's powerful.
Answering your question.
Well, what a place to finish, Cecily. And we have this trope of success, that we are successful, and this is what success looks like. And of course, that is, to quote Bart, an empty signifier. We all have this notion about what success is, and actually, it's an empty cup. At the end of your life, I'll use the old Brabazon goth line, the end of our life, you live, you die, your stuff ends up in a skip. So if you think that it's all, success, and I'm so important, you're going to die like everybody else, and all your stuff's going to end up in a skip. But what we can do is, instead of using success as this arc in our lives, if we deploy failure, that allows us to do the interior work and then build an authentic community with others from care and from compassion. And as Cecily said, then transition to something better. And maybe that bridge of transition is failure and shared failure rather than success. So, colleagues, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for sharing this hour and 5 minutes of your life with me. I'm so humbled by it. And can we just do an enormous thank you to Debbie and Leanne, who have had to read books and listen to stuff. And I'm just so grateful for your time. And colleagues, you are my heart. And I thank you so much for sharing your life and your lifeblood and your energy with me today. And Liam, we got you, brother. Have a lovely rest of the day and sleep well, Liam. Good luck, mate. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Tara.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb.
Thanks, Tara. Bye.
You're the best, Leanne. Bye-bye. See you guys.